Hi, in this video, we're going to look at how to set annual holiday entitlements in an employee's profile for new employees. The principles are similar for setting up employees brought in from another system, but there are some extra steps with that process not covered in this video. The first thing you must do is work out what these entitlements are, and the source document for this is your employment agreement. If you are unsure about your obligations to your employees and their rights under the Holidays Act, it's a good idea to contact Employment New Zealand. Choosing the appropriate leave method for an employee is done when creating their employee profile. If you miss this step, or you don't have all the information at hand at the time, you can always come back to this section. It's also handy to familiarize yourself with how to find this page as a reference for understanding an employee's leave balance. There are three methods for annual holiday entitlements in our system. A percentage of gross earnings, brackets, temp and irregular scenario. This is for strictly casual or on-call employees who get holiday pay as you go, or for employees on a temporary contract. The rate is set per the Holidays Act. The majority of employees will be entitled to 4 weeks of paid time off as annual leave and must be on this method. We'll spend most of this video going over this setting. And included in existing pay rates, don't pay. This method is generally for employees that aren't entitled to leave, such as subcontractors. For a casual or temporary employee, select the method a percentage of gross earnings. Make sure that the darkened box is an 8% of gross earnings, which will give you the options to include it in each pay run, or pay as you go, or to accumulate and pay later. The leave as per hour worked option is for rather unique circumstances, and it's best to give us a call before using this. Once you've selected whether or not an employee's holiday will be paid into each pay or accumulated, you must then check their sick leave. The minimums as per the Holidays Act are set by default. If your employee is not going to meet the requirements for getting sick leave, you can delete the number of days available. Instead of 5 in the box, leave it blank. If your employee should be entitled to sick leave later on, you'll need to contact us to make sure they get the correct allocation. Note that the system automatically sets an employee's sick leave anniversary as 6 months from their start date. You don't need to change the date of most recent addition of sick leave. The last step is to select whether you want leave balances to show on payslips or not. Note that if an employee has a balance of alternative leave days owing, these will always show on a payslip regardless of whether sick leave, annual leave, or holiday pay are set to. For employees that aren't entitled to annual leave, select the method included in existing pay rates, don't pay.
Where you are asked if holiday pay is included in standard pay, choose no.
In cases like this, it's likely the employee won't be entitled to sick leave, so delete the 5 days. If you say that holiday pay is included in standard pay rates, you need to make sure that their standard pay rate is at least $20.41 per hour, as that is equal to the minimum wage plus 8% holiday pay. For employees entitled to 4 weeks of annual leave per year, choose the rate as set per the Holidays Act. The first thing you must check is whether an employee gets more than the minimum of 4 weeks of annual leave per year, and update if necessary. Next up is the most important setting, and that is the length of an employee's standard week. In other words, their ordinary weekly pay. These settings determine how many days of annual leave an employee becomes entitled to on their leave anniversary, and the number of hours the system expects when entering annual leave into a timesheet. For this example, this employee's typical working week will be set as 4 days doing 32 hours. This means that on their anniversary, they'll get 16 days of leave, being 4 weeks times 4 days, and each day of annual leave should be entered as an 8-hour day in their timesheet, being 32 divided by 4. In cases where employees work variable hours, you must still set a typical working week. This can be an average of their working pattern, which you can reassess as they work, the minimum days and hours as set in their employment agreement, or a specific agreement as to what their ordinary weekly pay should be for the purposes of annual leave. Keeping with the same example, the employee and the employer have agreed that even though the employee will work around 4 days and between 30 and 35 hours per week, an ordinary working week for the purposes of annual leave will be 4 days and 32 hours. A day of leave should still be entered into the timesheet as an 8-hour day, being 32 divided by 4. It just might end up being paid at a higher rate. If you have set an employee's default standard working week with different hours per day, but those hours will always be the same week on week, you can select the option for the ordinary weekly pay to be equal to the default standard working week. In this example, the employee's default standard pay has them working Monday 4 hours, Wednesday 4 hours, Thursday 6, and Friday 8. In their leave settings, you can select the option Same as Default Standard Week. The system will set the number of days and hours for you automatically. When it comes to paying out leave, a Wednesday should always be entered as a 4-hour day, a Thursday a 6-hour day, and so on. This will be expanded on in our other video on adding leave to a timesheet. After setting the length of the standard week, scroll down and leave all the dates as they are. Choose whether or not you want to have leave balances shown on payslips, and you're done.